Today, Mero is regarded as one of the best.
Good shot, buddy.
Oh my one of the winningest and the greatest Fortnite player of all time.
So like I know I'm the best in this lobby 100%. I came into here, I was thinking like after last invitational I did bad, I was down. Like I felt so down, but then I realized I'm like I got not one, but two, but three, but four, but five FNCS wins, make it 6 now.
But everyone always asks the question, how good was Mero's prime actually? Was he carried by insane players and trios, or did he pave the way to become not only the best controller player ever, but the greatest Fortnite player of all time? Up until Chapter 2 Season 4, Mero was rather unknown. He had played in a few grands and had around $5,000 earned, but was not regarded as a top player on NA East. It was not until Reverse 2K, a highly regarded IGL, realized that the key to winning would be having two insane controller fraggers to play trios with him. So with this realization, he decided to pick up Mero and Day, which would turn out to be the best decision of his life. They were a monster fighting team and almost never lost a mid-game fight simply due to the fact Mero and Day were just so much better than everybody when it came to fighting. With an IGL like Reverse 2K leading them and keeping them in check, they were nearly unbeatable, and it looked as if they had cracked a formula to winning Fortnite events all the time. In that same season, they played insanely consistent throughout the qualifiers, making every finals and always placing top 5. Despite that, people still thought other teams would outplace them in the grand finals because, I mean, at the end of the day, Mero, Day, and Reverse were inexperienced, but what they would do next would shock the entire region. They dominated Season 4 heats like no other team and played the most consistent Fortnite ever witnessed in the grand finals. With an average placement of 7th and 6th eliminations per match, it was an IGLing and fragging masterclass that nobody saw coming, and they took first place without even winning a single game in grand finals, crowning them the Chapter 2 Season 4 FNCS champions. This was the moment that really kickstarted Mero's dominant career, and the ridiculously long prime had just begun for him. Before Season 4 grand finals, he had just 7,000 followers on Twitch, but immediately after the win, he would have found himself with over 20,000, starting to become an icon for control players across the world and started to build a recognizable brand for himself. This domination would continue in Chapter 2 Season 5, and they placed 4th in the grand finals with the same trio. But, I mean, they didn't win this time, so it was not up to the standards that they set the season prior. A 1st and a 4th place was something to be proud of, but they wanted to go insane. I won't go too into depth on the season he got 4th because he won a lot of FNCSs in his career, and I want to highlight them, so we gotta skip over the bad placements, even though 4th is still insane. So Chapter 2 Season 6 was here, and something insane was about to happen that would change the course of his career as we knew it. At this point, it was April 2021. Mero currently had 75,000 followers on Twitch and averaged over 700 concurrent viewers, while being recognized as definitely the best player in the world at the point. And he was also on the best trio. Like, life was looking good for Mero. They were coming off of 1st place and a 4th place in grands, and this team was now looking to shock the world once again. They would go on to dominate Qualifier 2 finals in Season 6 and automatically get into the grand finals for Season 6. After the super team of Clix, Bugha, and Bizzle were unable to qualify to the grand finals, the only team standing in Mero's way was the 2nd place Kings, Scented, Edgy, and Commandment. Mero's winning strategy was quite interesting, as they were dominating every event possible and getting pretty unlucky. Now, allow me to explain. They played incredible in Chapter 2 Season 6 grands and just slipped past Scented, who was the biggest threat this team has faced. At this point, they had already won their 2nd grand finals together, but with an interesting way of winning, with an average of 8th place and 6 eliminations and a KD ratio of 6, the highest out of any team. They were the most consistent and best fighters, dominating every single game. But just like their previous FNCS championship before Season 6, they did not even get one victory royale. People wondered how they were able to close out events without even getting a victory royale, and the only answer would be the most insane consistency we've ever seen from a trio, and honestly, they got so many eliminations in the process. This win would take Mero over the 100,000 Twitch followers, and now he was viewed as by far the best player in NA East. He had so quickly become the most dominant player and was winning basically every single event. Moving into Chapter 2 Season 7, it became clear that this would be the end of this trio. They stopped grinding together, and with their auto qualification into the grand finals, they had no chance to see how good they were in the qualifiers, which honestly, in hindsight, qualifying to the grand finals early from the season prior probably didn't help because they weren't really scrimming, they weren't really practicing, and they didn't get to see how good they were, and it led to them having a bad placement in Season 7. So like many expected, Mero would officially split from Day in Reverse, and what was about to happen in Season 8 only pushed his legacy even more, and Mero was ready to silence any haters he still had. Heading into Chapter 2 Season 8, Mero would announce he was training with Bugha and Muzz, the World Cup winner and the best player from Oceania who had just came to NA East to test his skills. People had their concerns about this trio due to Muzz being from a much smaller region in OCE, and Bugha having never won an FNCS before, and honestly, who wasn't even doing that good since his World Cup win. But it almost seemed like Mero was the key to winning, because he was now in the peak of his first prime, and they got it done in Season 8 after instantly qualifying to Grands through Week 1 finals. In Season 8 Grands, they played incredible. It was one of the most watched Grand Finals, and it came down to the very last game to decide the winner. And they just squeaked past Day and his new trio by just 7 points. And in true Mero fashion, they won despite not getting a single victory royale in Grand Finals. This would make 3 FNCS wins for Mero that he honestly didn't even win a single game in. It's almost crazy to think up to this point that he didn't even win a game in Grands, but still managed to be so good and consistent that it didn't even matter. Keep in mind that you get so many more points when you win a game, which just made his winning even more incredible. After this great win, Mero and Bugha would realize that if they wanted to complete the greatest back-to-back ever, they needed someone better than Muzz for the Grand Royale event at the end of Chapter 2. So they made a decision that shocked everybody. They dropped Muzz for Duke, who was the Season 7 FNCS winner. This was a really controversial decision, and the fans around the world started to hate on Bugha for snaking, but those haters were quickly put to bed when they breezed through Grand Royale, with Day finishing once again in second. Mero would be headed into the Chapter 3 with 3 FNCS wins in 5 seasons and 4 FNCS wins in total. Duos would be announced for all of Chapter 3, which meant only one thing: the best duo of all time would be created when Bugha decided to stick with Mero for Chapter 3 Season 1. Since they had just won back-to-back Grand Finals with no signs of slowing down, they got Chonker Speedway, the best PY in the game, completely uncontested, with no one in sight to fight them. This would be like Peterbot getting Grimgate uncontested, where he went crazy because it had the best loot. It got to the point where Mero literally only played 5 events after punching his ticket to Season 1 Grand Finals in the first week of qualifiers, which made people honestly a little bit worried to figure out if he was still grinding the game or not. It turns out that he just knew he was that much better than everyone, and they jogged through the Grand Finals, taking first place yet again without any victory royales. This was now the first Fortnite dynasty, and Mero was now up to 5 FNCS titles in 9 seasons. An absolutely ridiculous feat. The only problem with being on top this much is that the only place to go is down, which is unfortunately what happened. They would place second in the next Grand Finals. Shocker. You know, he doesn't get first, he gets second. Wow, that's insane. Crazy. Anyways, but after that bad performance, they would go on to place second and third in the next 2 Grand Finals, and then have a bad performance in the Global Championship. I mean, bro, getting second and third is not that much worse than getting first, but let's just say he did terrible. And then at the Global Championship, it pretty much solidified how him and Bugha would end up splitting, and then now Mero would end up consider retirement. It's crazy. He was literally winning back-to-back-to-back FNCSs, and not even a year later, he was considering retirement. But as he was considering retirement, there was one more thing he wanted to do before he left the game for good, and that was to pick up an underrated player and turn them into a Fortnite legend. After the $1 million coin flip that I've made a video on, a player named Cooper got the chance to play with Mero, and it did not disappoint. What's interesting about Mero is that he is one of the only Fortnite players to remain at a high level from Chapter 2. A lot of top players from his prime are either really washed like Day, I mean, okay, no offense Day, you're just not where you used to be, or completely retired like Reverse, who, yeah, he's completely washed, so that makes sense. And so that makes his extremely long prime even more incredible. So in the first FNCS, Cooper and Mero played together, they placed second. A complete surprise considering Mero was on the verge of retirement and Cooper was a rather unknown player. But Cooper was very skilled, and now on 0 ping in game due to the NA Central servers and him living in Texas, so I mean, maybe they were going to become a crazy duo. Well, just wait and see what happened. This second place meant they would qualify for the 2023 Global Championship in Copenhagen, which Mero was looking to redeem himself from last year after having a bad performance. They would end up placing 9th in the Season 3 FNCS Grand Finals after getting griefed when they were in second place, and Mero was in this weird spot in his career. After not winning a Grands in a while, he needed something big to prove he was still one of the best, and no better opportunity to do this than the LAN event with Cooper. But despite Mero's past domination, and honestly their pretty good form throughout the seasons, people still started to doubt Cooper because it was his first ever LAN event. They would make it to the LAN events, and they wouldn't do good in the Day 1 qualifiers, not being able to place in the top 25, which meant they would have to play on the last chance in the next day. And it was not looking good for Mero at this point. And after Day 1, there was definitely a lot of people who thought that this could be the end of his incredible career, and well, we'll probably never see him ever again. But day 2 came and they redeemed themselves, getting a 17th place, which it was a little bit shaky, but they still made it to the grand finals of the event. You see, this event was a very strange format. 75 teams came to Copenhagen to participate, but only 50 of them would qualify into the global championship lobby on day 3. On day 3, it was only 6 games, so any mistake would give you almost no chance of winning the event. Mero and Cooper would start off the tournament with an incredible game 1, getting 2nd place with 7 eliminations and nearly winning the game. Then they did it again in game 2 with a 5-kill 7th. All of a sudden, through only 2 games, this team had a real shot at winning the entire team as they were sitting pretty in first place. After not even being able to qualify on day 1 and barely qualifying on day 2, they found themselves on the verge of a life-changing win. But there were still 4 more games to play. In game 3, they didn't play as well, getting 5th place with 5 eliminations. But okay, so because they got 2nd in the last 2 games, getting 5th place was a downgrade, but once again, 5th place in a lobby with the best players in the world is insane. It was extremely consistent by them, but now they need to focus up and finish the last 3 games. In the last 3 games, they didn't have any stellar performances, but they had 3 decent games, and 3 decent games would give them the lead they needed to secure the win and solidify Mero as the best player ever. They would place 12th and 14th with 5 eliminations each the next 2 games, giving them a sizable lead heading into the last game. All they needed to do was not fall off spawn immediately, and they would have done what seemed impossible just 2 days before this. If there is an event that shows how good Mero truly is, it has to be this one, as they would go down in the mid game in the match 6, locking in the championship and being crowned the best team in the world and global champions in Copenhagen in 2023. This marked Mero's 6th FNCS win, tied for the most of all time, but most of all, he was a world champion in what many people consider to be the most stacked lobby in Fortnite history. After all the seasons, chapters, and years, Mero's prime is one of the longest and most fulfilling, and he is now known as the GOAT of Fortnite. So when someone asks you how good was Mero really in his prime, just send them this video so they can learn what you just did. That being said, go ahead and click this video on screen as you'll probably enjoy that one, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you!